Directors, CEO KETRACO, distinguished
umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Let's be seated. Thank you so much. As I stated earlier, we have received our PS State Department for Energy. We have in our midst the Chairman, Board of Directors, KETRACO. We have in our midst the CEO, Managing Director and CEO, KETRACO, Dr. Engineer John Matibo. We have CEO of KenGen, the CEO of KenGen, Engineer Peter Njenga. We have a representative of the PS Internal Security and National Administration, Mr. Hosman Cesaro is there. We have the President, Institute of Engineers of Kenya, who is also representing MD NUPEA, Engineer Eric Ohanga, is with us here. State Department for Economic Planning, we have a representative of the PS here, Mr. Daniel Okelele and his team. We have, my attention has been drawn to the presence of the CEO of GDC, probably is just coming in, Mr. Paul Ngugi. We have our distinguished directors of KETRACO. Ms. John Rose Gatwiri is here. Engineer Michael Malomba, Engineer Thomas Karungu, Ms. Judith Nyauncho, and Director CPA CS Honorable Kirwa Stephen Bitok. Our management team are all here, KETRACO staff, stakeholders whom we'll be recognizing as we go on. We welcome you to this occasion. As you can see, is KETRACO launching a 5-year strategic plan. Covering, Mr. CEO, kindly, Asante. That's the CEO of GDC. Welcome. 2023-2027. And I would also like to bring to your attention that over and above this, KETRACO is also celebrating 15 years since its inception. So it's a great moment in our calendar as KETRACO. I would like to, at this time, welcome Dr. Njogu Kimando, our GM Strategy Research and Compliance, to give welcome remarks. Dr. Karibu.
Good morning, all. The chief guest for today, though he has not arrived, and we are hoping that he is still on the way, Mr. Davis Chichil, EGH, Cabinet Secretary for Energy and Petroleum, Mr. Alex Wachira, CBS, Principal Secretary, State Department for Energy, Mr. Abdi Bare Duare, Chairman of KETRACO Board of Directors, Dr. Engineer John Mativo, MBS Managing Director, KETRACO, other CEOs, MDs present, all protocols observed, KETRACO management and staff, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to extend to all, on behalf of KETRACO, our deepest appreciation for joining us for this early morning at the launch of KETRACO Strategic Plan 2023 to 2027. This is our fourth generation strategic plan. We have had other three strategic plan, but this is now our fourth generation strategic plan. Today marks the beginning of our concerted efforts to weave together the aspirations and strategies that will shape KETRACO's trajectory over the course of the next 5 years, which promise to be transformative not only for KETRACO, but for the entire energy supply industry. This strategic plan will therefore serve to catalyze growth of the company and the development of Kenya's energy sector and the region. We have had an exciting journey, though with few challenges here and there. However, with this strategic plan, the promise for our future looks more certain than the past. The occasion we are celebrating today would not have been possible without the support we have received over the years. KETRACO has been in existence, and we owe you for that. We have been privileged to receive valuable support from our stakeholders as we developed this strategic plan, and I wish to applaud you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, before we delve further into today's agenda, I would like to introduce to you the man who shall be the captain as we steer the KETRACO ship into the future. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Managing Director to give his remark. Kindly please join me in giving him a welcome to Dr. John Mativo. Karibu, Dr. John Mativo.
Thank you. In the interest of time, first let me acknowledge our guest of honor will be coming, our CS, really for his support. I know we've had late night calls. The day before yesterday, I think we had a call all the way to midnight. Really giving us good support. I acknowledge the presence of PS. PS, I know we have had 5 o'clock morning meetings on phone. Really, I also acknowledge the presence of our board, our chair and our board for their support, fellow CEOs in the energy sector, KETRACO staff who have been a pillar to growing this company. Some of them have been here from 2010 all the way, and some of them are joined with time. But every person has played a key role. Then our financials, I've met JICA, I think World Bank, there are a number of financials here. We appreciate them. Some of them send apologies because they started their Christmas break from today, but they've been really great supporters of KETRACO. I'll be taking us through, once it's loaded, on a presentation. Thank you so much. On KETRACO. In the interest of time, I might be moving a bit fast, but the strategic plan is going to be available to everybody who's here, both physical and some online, so that we can walk this journey together. KETRACO has become, in the 10 or 13 years I've been in KETRACO, almost 13 and a half years, it has moved to a very strategic point of this country. We are right in the middle of where the country is going, meeting the needs of the country. And I'm sure all of you watching news over the last couple of years, you haven't seen all the way from our head of state and our cabinet secretary and PS talk many times about the importance of transmission. And that's what I'll be giving an overview on our strategic plan. The bigger picture, yes, I know we have a 5-year strategic plan, but it's important to know where we are going. We are basically moving the grid from, as Dr. Kimando said, we're also celebrating 15 years anniversary or a birthday this month. The grid was fairly simple on the left side of the screen, moving from just the normal way the railway line was done, from Mombasa all the way to Malaba. Then later we had the hydros that are connected to Nairobi and Mombasa. Then we had Takwel come on board, Sondo come on board, then Olkaria. So we had a simple grid. But KETRACO's plan is definitely to have the grid reach each and every corner of this country here and ensure that apart from supplying power, we are also being able to help this country harness the potential of solar and wind power. So there's a lot we are doing to get this country into its rightful position. We have many stakeholders, and I'll not name all of them, but we have stakeholders all the way from generation to demand. I'm happy Engineer Njenga is here. We give a lot of support and working together with KenGen. And also GDC, Paul Ngugi knows we are doing a line that crosses from Losuk through the Silali geothermal power plants to Losuk. So to ensure that even he can have power connecting to the rest of the country. And we have Menengai working closely with him. But we also have a lot of demand that is people who need us to supply power, Kenya Power, but plus all also their customers rely on us to connect them. And this new emerging technology, shall be talking about what is emerging in this country. We cannot forget our stakeholders who are also the public. Those are the people first. We ensure that power is applied to them. And we know the impact of the national outages that have been occurring, the pain that Kenyans feel. And that's why we're there to bridge the gap and ensure that Kenyans will have access to power. But also in our projects, we affect people directly, so there are key stakeholders that we have. For those ones who might be new, I know most of us know the sector. There are many players I've mentioned. We have the ministry, we have EPRA, who are responsible for regulation. Then we have KenGen, GDC, independent power producers, more than 20. And Nupea coming on board. We expect to have our first nuclear power plants in a couple of years, and KETRACO will be there to boot the transmission line. Distribution of KenGen, REREC, but KETRACO sits in between to ensure that both the demand and supply is actually met. We have leakages with various players because we always have to, as we expand the grid, as we operate the grid, we have to ensure that we meet the nation's goals, whether it's Vision 2030, our medium-term plans. We have Energy Act and policies to be undertaken. We have the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. We have sustainable goals for the whole of Africa all the way to 2063. That's why we also do interconnectors. We have our list costs, our transmission master plan. Then also have the Ministry of Energy strategic plan. There are quite a number of things that also are there to ensure that our strategic plan is well aligned. Emerging issues, and where, as we start the next 3 years, a number of things are going to be changing, and that's why KETRACO has positioned itself in a position where we are going to be a key player. One of them is regional interconnectors and power trade. The previous strategic plan, we got connected to Ethiopia, but now we're going, in this strategic plan, we get connected to Tanzania, to Uganda, and we just had meetings with Southern Sudan last week, because they also want to get connected by Kenya. So it's going to be a big change, but also changes our network from just operating a small grid, but to a bigger grid. We get into a point where the Energy Act allows large power consumers or eligible customers to buy power from the grid. So we see ourselves having a wheeling tariff. The regulations, it again changes how we undertake things. We know, number 3, that there are challenges in terms of getting funds. So we are moving to a point of not just relying on exchequer funding, but to PPP. Just maybe for those who might be not familiar with how we are to PPP, our portfolio of PPP projects is $1.1 billion. Those are the projects we are doing. The projects we plan to do under in this coming calendar year for DFI funding is $250 million. So we see ourselves where PPP plays a key role. Environmental and climate change is going to be quite crucial. Our financials, everybody is requiring us to ensure that we are undertaking projects in a very sustainable way. There's going to be a lot of focus in terms of renewable and green and clean energy. Wind, solar coming to the grid more and more. It changes the way the grid has been operated and designed to ensure that, but KETRACO has to be there to ensure that we have a grid that can ensure that we have a stable network that can ensure that if, for example, there's a fault, the grid is going to be resilient enough to hold, the whole grid will be resilient enough. We have unforeseen calamities, which includes COVID, but floods is what we are going through. We are basically changing a lot of designs of some of our lines. Maybe I'll just give an example. As the lines cross the Tana Delta and Sabaki River, for those who have driven around that place, you'll see actually the towers are being done differently. Malindi, Weru, Kilifi is also, as we cross Sabaki, will be done a bit different. So there's a lot of things we are going to ensure that issues of flood, our transformers, we recognize that the temperatures are going to rise, environmental temperatures, so how they're going to be able to ensure that we have equipment that can run throughout even as the climate changes. We have energy policies, frameworks that are going to be continuous changing as we meet the needs of our clients, whether it's hydrogen fuel coming on board. There's a lot that is going to be changing within this next 3 to 5 years. We have a lot of renewable energy. From the time I joined KETRACO in 2010 up to today, the cost of solar has actually gone down by 90%. So when I joined KETRACO, cost was anything close to 0.2, 0.3. And right now it's 0.02. So the prices have come down by 10%. We see ourselves having more distributed energy resources, so a lot of generation happening at distribution levels. Then we see a lot of digital transformation in terms of how we undertake our work, and KETRACO is preparing to have an asset management center to be able to take advantage of the digital platform that our network is going to be operating under. What we consider is definitely, I mentioned earlier, is our national development priorities, very important. Where the administration is taking us, KETRACO has to be ready to meet those needs. We have to look at the projected growth on the network. Numbers have been shared. The least cost is talking about 10 gigawatts, but there's push to have more, almost 100 gigawatts by the year. When we clock 2030, we need to continue strengthening our system. Yes, we have so many radio lines, but we need to allow reinforcement. As I said, renewable energy is going to increase. KETRACO, we have a timeline to become the system operator, and we expect more growth in the power trade. Just had a meeting with Godfrey Kariuki and the team from Tanzania in Ethiopia at Tech Hotel, and the projection is that Tanzanians see themselves buying almost 400 megawatts from Ethiopia, and us, we're also on the path of getting 400 megawatts. So there's a lot of power that is going to be moving from country to country. Then alternative sources of funding that I mentioned earlier. In this strategic plan, we have our mandate still remains the same. We do everything from planning all the way to maintaining the power network. And I think the thing to mention is that we are designated as system operator. Our vision statement in the current strategic plan is to have stable power grid that will transform lives in the region, so you see, and beyond. So we see ourselves providing power that touches the lives of Kenyans. And therefore, our mission is to provide a stable electricity grid and facilitate trade for sustainable social economic development. So whether it's to support our generators, our consumers, that is what KETRACO intends to do. Our tagline, we are bringing a new tagline in this strategic plan, Mfumo Thabiti wa Umeme, which means stable power grid. So it's good. You're going to be hearing it quite often. You're going to see it in our documents, and that's the direction we're going to go. Our core values are core to everything we do, and it is very important. We try to have a simple way of remembering them. TICSIS, teamwork, integrity, customer focus, sustainability, innovation, and safety. So it's going to be key to what we do. So it's a culture that we have to maintain and improve day by day in terms of ensuring these are part and parcels of our life. Our result areas, we have 4 result areas, if you get a chance to see our strategic plan. And one of them is to develop and optimize electricity transmission infrastructure. So we see ourselves rolling up more and more kilometers of transmission lines and more substations. We see ourselves having to up our game in terms of operation maintenance of the national grid. So it's one of the key result areas. System operation is a key area we see ourselves working in this current strategic plan. Then number 4 is enhancing operational capacity and governance. So we're very clear that our staff have to be...
Distinguished members, let's pause to welcome our CS. Let's be standing as we receive our CS, Honorable Chirchir. Thank you. Welcome, Bwana CS. Let's get seated.
Okay. Thank you, Waziri, for joining us. I was saying in our current strategic plan, we have 4 key areas that we are focusing on, and one of them is definitely developing and optimizing our electricity grid. So we see ourselves expanding in terms of both length and transmission lines and reinforcing the grid. We see ourselves, number 2, the demand for improving our operational maintenance is going to be quite crucial. We have to be in front and up to date as we bring more renewable energy and we get more demand by our consumers. We see ourselves within the strategic plan taking over system operation functions, where now we have to run the system in a way that is required by the grid code, but also by the demand for our citizens and beyond. Then I'll say number 4 is our organizational capacity and governance. So staff is going to be still key, actually going to be very key to and paramount to in terms of how KETRACO operates in the next 5 years, in terms of equipping them with the right skills, retaining them in a way that gives them a morale in their work. So it's going to be quite key in terms of the next 5 years. The objectives, and I'll not mention all of them, I just mentioned the key ones. We see ourselves finishing 41 transmission lines in this period, increasing the grid by an additional 4,600, and we see ourselves putting additional 36 substations. That's a plan, but we're always ready for any change of policy and direction from the government, whether to special economic zones, to move into that. A lot of, in terms of efficiency and effectiveness, in terms of how we do operations, how we manage power exchange, the grid, as I said, we are hoping, we only have 3 kilometers to go to connect to Tanzania. So we see ourselves, again, within the strategic plan, but even next calendar year, to be able to facilitate exchange of power. We start from 100, but the target is to go to 400 and beyond. Then definitely effective organization, development, and good governance. One of the thinking that we have, some of the thinking is that in the future projects, we acquire 100% of the way leaves and land before the project starts, because it's very clear, having done our lessons learned, this has been one of the key areas. And just to comfort everybody here, the next set of projects we are getting, which is Narok, Bomet, Rumuruti, Kabarnet, Malindi, Weru, then we have the Okundu line, and the other lines that are going to Masabit from Longelani to Isiolo. These are projects that we are really grateful for, the new projects that we have the funding, or we have the funding that is coming on board to acquire wheelies. So we'll do our best to acquire wheelies before the contractor is done on board. Then ensuring that as we operate the transmission line number 3, that we ensure there's always availability of 98.5 and above. Let me just jump because of interest of time. So financial resources mobilization structure. We have a program that we need to finance, and we see ourselves getting money from wheeling tariffs and O&M revenue. So we see ourselves going to EPRA definitely to ask for additional money for O&M, but we see ourselves wheeling tariff coming from different areas. One of them is the interconnection and power trade. Godfrey Kariuki, the rest of the team, are discussing, negotiating with TANESCO in terms of the wheeling tariff to push power from Ethiopia all the way to Tanzania. We see large power consumers coming on board and buying power directly either from KenGen and requesting for a wheeling tariff. We see a number of plants that will be pushing captive power from one end to another end, so wheeling tariff. So there's a lot. We see this area growing. We also run extensive fiber network. All our transmission lines have fiber on them. So this is an area of revenue generation. We have basically all the large power data companies, internet companies on board, but we see ourselves growing. I was talking to Liquid Telecom the other day. The CEO was telling me currently 60% of all data transfer from Ethiopia is coming through Kenya. So we're handling 60% of all data. So it's only 30%, 40% that is going through Djibouti. And the projection is that once we finish Kenya, Tanzania, the assurance is that between 30-35% of all data in Tanzania will be coming through the Kenya-Tanzania line. So we see ourselves being supportive to the rest of the grid, but also give Kenya a chance to connect both to Mombasa, to Djibouti, and Dar es Salaam, add redundancy there. We see PPPs play a big key role. We see ourselves moving within this time to asset monetization. We still see support from Exchequer, but being reduced, then working closely with our development partners. These are the numbers. I'll just go to the bottom line. To finance this strategic plan, we see ourselves requiring 350 billion. That's the kind of money that we see ourselves requiring in this 5-year. And how are we going to finance this? We see ourselves getting almost 30 billion through wheeling charges, 2 billion through fiber. We see ourselves getting almost 1 billion through other incomes. We see us undertaking projects worth 100 billion through PPPs. We see ourselves almost getting 17 billion through asset monetization. Exchequer support that we project is approximately 58 billion, and development partners for our projects approximately 140. So that's our target, and we believe it's realistic in terms of how we're going to finance our strategic plan. We have challenges. I'm not going to read all of them. They're available in the document, but under electricity transmission infrastructure development, we are very clear that we need to improve our project and contract management capacity within the company. We have to also manage well leave acquisition and cost of overruns. So under grid operations maintenance challenge, and we see the key challenges are going to be issues of vandalism on our infrastructure, failure of critical transmission equipment, and inadequate O&M equipment and spares and well encroachment. These are the key risks, and we have mitigation measures in terms of what we are going to do to ensure that we minimize or eliminate these challenges. System operation, one of the key things we have put here is delay in operation of system operations, but just to add to this is definitely the staff capacity and the retention of this staff in the country. KETRACO, just like Kenya Power, I think KETRACO, we've lost almost 12 engineers in the last 12 or so months. KETRACO and Kenya Power, I think, have 6 engineers who manage the Irish grid in Ireland and other grids in different countries. So we see ourselves, we have to put ourselves in a place where we find either to retain our skilled staff or to find a way to train more and more staff. When it comes to organizational capacity and governance, definitely we have to improve in terms of how we undertake revenue collection. Our staff numbers, capacity, we are actually about to prepare our HR instruments that will take us for the next 5 years. So we'll hope to capture people in the right areas. I know business development, we need to up some areas, so we'll be working in terms of our PPP teams. We need to bring them on board. Cyber attacks are going to be there. We have quite a number of lawsuits. We find a way to manage them, and we have mitigation measures that we need to undertake. And I'll not go through them. The document is available. KETRACO's role, yes, this curve gives us a position to know where we have gone in the last 15 years. From 2008, the curve in terms of growth in the network improved, and by the time we get to 2023 to 2027, the next 5 years, the curve is only going to increase as we go forward so that we can meet the needs of this country. This I showed earlier, that's where we plan to go as a country, and we have done a lot in the last, just maybe one of my last slides. Past performance during the previous strategic plan, we finished almost 3,000 circuit kilometers of lines. So we increased the network to approximately 5,476 with additional 39 high voltage voltage substations. There are key projects that we finished in the last strategic plan, like Olkaria, Lesos Kisumu, Longelani Suswa, Olkaria North, Narok, Ethiopia line. We finished the converter station in Ethiopia. We finished Kibos substation. Currently, these are ongoing. Tako Rotum Kitale, we are hoping to finish in January, end of January, when we move the transformer to Kitale, because we have energies Ortum. Lesos Cabernet is only 3 kilometers to go. Once we make payments, the work is worth only 2 weeks. Then Kenya Power is doing the substation. Again, we finish in the next quarter, hopefully. Kenya Tanzania, our target is finished by 31st of December. Isinya Namanga, similarly, by end of the month. Kitui Wote, by the end of the financial year. Nyanyuki Rumuruti is waiting for the underground cable, which gets finished on 6th of November. Isiolo Nyanyuki, again, the underground cable, but we also trying to solve challenges with the contractor. Sultanamund like Tok, waiting for one item to come. In February, we energize. Then Marekani substation is 70% at commissioning stage. And similarly, Kimuka is 98% at commissioning. So we plan to actually finish Kimuka in the next quarter, with Mala following before the end of the financial year. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We just request for your support as we work together in this journey to deliver this strategic plan, in the end to have a great impact on Kenyans and have social economic development both in Kenya and beyond. Asanteni sana. Thank you.
Thank you so much, MD. Probably you would proceed and invite KETRACO chairman.
Thank you. I do not have the problem. It gives me great pleasure to invite the chairman of KETRACO, Mr. Abdi Dwale, to come and share his address. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mativo. Thank you, our CS, Mr. Davis Chirchir, for joining us today. I know you're a very busy fellow, especially these times when a lot of things are happening. Thank you, our PS, who's always for us. Your office is always open when you want to come in, when you have issues. We thank you so much. I also want to thank the MD, GDC, Engineer Paul Mwangi, and Engineer Njenga from Kanjen, and the other sector leaders here today. Our board, thank you for coming from all the way from, some of you from Bungoma. I know our MD has given up the presentation properly, but I just want to emphasize CS that when this board came on board, we realized we have several challenges, as mentioned here. But I want to emphasize on the issue of waylift. So we realized most of the projects that have stalled or are not being completed 5 years, 7 years later is because of waylifts. So we actually went through a resolution and said that there'll be no project going to be started from now that doesn't have waylift sorted before. So I think that is what I wanted to emphasize. I also wish to extend my gratitude to each of you for gracing us with your presence today as we mark a significant milestone, the official launch of KETRACO 2023-2027 strategic plan. Allow me to acknowledge the presence of our esteemed cabinet secretary, our principal secretary, head of various agencies under the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, and all other stakeholders here today. Your presence is testament to the importance and shared commitment we hold towards the progression of Kenya's energy landscape. KETRACO, established in 2008 as a state corporation under the Companies Act, Cap 486, remains dedicated to its mandate, the planning, design, construction, ownership, operation, and maintenance of high-voltage electricity transmission grid and regional power interconnectors. Since its inception, the company has witnessed remarkable growth, expanding our grid network to encompass 62% of the national transmission grid, translating to about 5,500 kilometers. The formulation of the strategic plan has been a product of comprehensive stakeholder consultation, and I wish to extend my sincere appreciation to all contributors who provided invaluable insights and feedback through this process. Dr. Kimando and his team, our general managers, we thank you so much for this. Aligned with the Vision 2030, the strategic plan stands as a testament to our commitment to facilitating economic growth and development. Recognizing energy as a critical enabler, we aim to ensure effective, efficient, and reliable electricity transmission infrastructure. Such infrastructure not only diminishes business operational cost, but also bolsters Kenya's economic competitiveness on the global scale. Integral to our strategy is harmonization with the Transmission Master Plan 2022-2041, Least Cost Power Development Plan 2022-2041, Sustainable Development Goals Africa 2063 Agenda, and Kenya's bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Our clear intent is clear: to extend the transmission network, enhance electricity accessibility, facilitate renewable energy evacuation, and intensify efforts towards environmental sustainability. This strategic plan emphasizes the expansion of transmission lines and substations, projecting the construction of 4,600 circuit kilometers of transmission lines and 36 substations. Furthermore, prioritizing efficient operations and maintenance is pivotal to bolstering grid reliability and stability. To this end, we are on course to having in place a modern national system control center alongside capacity development initiatives. The realization of this ambitious plan necessitates robust resource allocation. We therefore express our sincere appreciation to the National Treasury the Minister of Energy and Petroleum, our esteemed development partners for their unwavering support. I urge continued collaboration and support from the government and our partners as we embark on this transformative agenda. In conclusion, I extend heartfelt gratitude to all present today, and may the year draw to a fulfilling close for each of us, and I wish you a Merry Christmas as you go home, and Happy New Year. Thank you. I'll now invite our PS, Mr. Alex Wachira, to come and address the gathering, and invite our CS as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. You know, sometimes the office follows us to where we are because of urgent matters, so I had to sign something. Our Cabinet Secretary, Davis Chichil, EGH, our Chair of KETRACO Board of Directors, Abdi Bare Duale, our CEO, before CEO, our directors, our CEO John Mativo, CEO GDC and CEO Kenjen, management of KETRACO. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning once again. You know, it's a great pleasure to stand before you on this day when, one, you are celebrating 15 years, and two, when you are shaping the next direction that you want to take in the next 5 years. Building 4,600 kilometers of transmission lines and 36 substations is not a mean target. It's a serious target. It's an ambitious target that requires such a function to launch. You know, the director of General Electric once said that in real life, strategy is actually very straightforward. You plan, you pick a general direction, and implement it like hell. So today, ladies and gentlemen, you have planned. What now remains is picking the direction and implementing like hell. Between the wish and the plan is the action that all of you are going to take. The ministry, the board of directors, the employees, Ministry of Finance, and everybody else. At the end of the day, what they say is the chain is as strong as its weakest. So as we plan to do what we are supposed to do, because planning and launching is very easy. Weightlifting starts from tomorrow, and heavy weight lifting. So because your MD may not be where you are supposed to be, all we are asking from each and every one of you is, number one, to own this plan. Number two, to implement this plan like you have no other business to do. That way, the chain will be very strong because you will not be the weakest link of the chain. So for me, it's just to add that component and urge each and every one of you, wherever you are, an MD, ensure that this strategic plan is disseminated from your level to the lowest person in KETRACO, so that everybody can own it. Of course, we cannot implement alone. We expect cooperation, a whole government approach from NLC. Let them also own, because energy is an enabler. You have seen us on the TV, led by our Cabinet Secretary, talking about key transmission lines that are missing and causing us what we don't like, the blackouts. but those are going to be issues of the past. So I want to leave you, before I invite the CS, with 2 or 3 quotes that will guide you, that will be your true north. Because today, we are launching our true north. Once we see the stars, like the 3 wise men, you know, we are heading to Christmas. And so therefore, you have to bring a parable of the 3 wise men who saw the stars. And they followed and eventually they went and found Jesus had just been born. So today, we are just seeing the star, where it is. We are not being told to do a lot of things. We're just being told, follow the star. And once we follow the star, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be here in another 5 years to launch another ambitious program. And always remember that I told you that I believe that you're going to be the next Kenyan, that you're going to be the next listed company from the energy sector. And when you look at power grid of India, then you have no reason not to work hard to ensure that KETRACO gets to where it's supposed to be. With those few remarks, let me quote Winston Churchill. He once said that however beautiful a strategy is, you should occasionally look back at the results. That is what we call monitoring and evaluation. As you walk with the direction of the star, at some point, sit, look back and see, have I walked the far that I needed to be? With those few remarks, please be upstanding as we welcome our Cabinet Secretary, David Churchill, to give his remarks. Asanteni sana.
Let's give a round of clap to the PS as we welcome the CS. Karibu.
Good morning. We may be seated. Let me start by acknowledging the PS Chair, KETRACO, the CEOs present, of course the board, and all of us for coming here to basically look at this roadmap. And from the onset, congratulate KETRACO and the board, through the board and the CEO, the management, for preparing this document that will really help and guide us to walk the journey that we need to walk for the next 5 years. So congratulations, Bwana Chairman and your board, Bwana Mativo, John, and the rest of the team from KETRACO. We were here with Cabinet and the entire leadership of government, with all the PSs the other day, chatting out the way forward for this country. And one of the most challenging areas in the cost of living, the real drivers for the cost of living, for inflation today, are cost of energy. Energy being, of course, both electricity and petroleum, because really both are energy. In many countries, the Ministry of Energy carries both. It is not fashionable today to say petroleum because of petroleum being a fossil fuel and the challenges of climate change. So it's just energy because it's a form of energy which really drives the economy and energy. And so when we sit here today and show us a roadmap on how we want to walk the journey, and I believe it's a document that has taken a few sleepless nights to prepare. It has been well thought out. I don't think it's just a document which is put on paper. And I would like to really encourage us to walk that journey, maintain those timelines, ensure that we are able to draw those budgets, because a budget of, I was just computing about 2.5 billion US dollars, because you guys can budget in the shillings, but the shillings are not, a lot of our projects are a dollar project. So to get a budget of about 2.3 billion, as I saw that 300 billion Kenya shillings in that period, when we are a government agency, is not going to be a walk in the park. I came late because I was trying to get some 17 billion this morning to pay the petroleum industry so that they can continue to supply us petroleum products under our stabilization fund. So 350 billion is not change. And so there's been so much initiative to see how to be more business-like. The power grid of India, the power grids that really run transmission as a business. And I think we are going to rework this roadmap and show the value to the shareholder. It will be important for us, even as a government fully funded entity, to start mimicking what looks like a balance sheet. That shows a bottom line. If we were to go more of PPP, which lines carries so much kilowatts, and if we tariff those lines, what will be the revenue return in terms of return on investment? And even as we seek to do more of PPP lines, we should be able to appreciate and understand that how do we tariff from the perspective of our lines today being utilized to the maximum in terms of, when you talk about a line is constrained, it's because it's carrying almost 100%. It is like running a matatu that is full every day. You'll be able to repay your loans very quickly. How do we run KETRACO even while it is fully funded by government as a business? What would be the return on the investment today in terms of assets returning or employing the asset to work for us in returning on that investment? And therefore, is our willing tariff above the line in terms of what goes to the tariff? Are we charging too little? Are we charging too much? In terms of an asset returning 10%, maybe 12, 13, 14%. Are we undercharging? Are we returning 2%? And therefore, if we went to the wheeling platform, would the tariff to the end user be more expensive? I think we need to be more business-like. And so that when we walk the journey, and I give you, Chairman, or we give you a loan to build a line, you make sure that at the end of the period, you are able to start repaying the loan because you've built the line in good time. So you don't start repaying the loan when the asset is not working, because then where is the revenue coming from? If we are repaying a loan and we've not finished building the assets, for those of you who have taken a loan, you don't want to start repaying a loan and the asset. You can imagine if you bought a bus and it has not been delivered, to just bring it down. It has not been delivered and you are repaying the loan and the asset is not working. Where do you get the money to repay? And this is what happens in many of our projects. In government, we start repaying a loan for a project which has not started because the loan was provided for quite a while ago. It is reached the time to start repaying the loan, and we have not started the project. So really, it is important, CEO and your team, to unpackage and give us more detailed roadmaps or work to be able to understand how we are going to walk that journey. Confirm that if we said Takwel Otum Kitale was to be delivered by this date, we deliver it on time. I know you'll face challenges of wayleaf, you'll face challenges of disbursement, but that is why we are here to walk the journey with you. From me, I'll possibly end up in the treasury again because that money has to be paid so that we ensure that we keep the country wet over Christmas. We are able to fuel our cars. And sometimes we say, I've written a letter to the National Treasury and we are waiting for the money to come in. Sometimes those letters are not read by anybody. When you go to the desk of the National Treasury, there's a room where files are kept up on Yuma, and they are mountains of files. And one of those could be your letters awaiting funding. But if you were to sit there every evening, every other day, to basically confirm to those people that this is a critical project, if we deliver, we will be a competitive economy. If we deliver, we'll reduce the cost of power, and so on and so forth. That is what we need to do together. PS can do that for you, I can do that for you, and so on and so forth, so that we don't get into a situation where Bomet Narok, which is a project that should have been built a long time ago, is causing a national blackout. And people don't understand because the problem comes from Moroni Kisumu overload, which is caused by some line from Musaga, Uganda, and then so on and so forth. And when you try to explain to Kenyans, they have solutions. This week, we've been beaten very hard and marked, we were the lowest marked. We cannot go any lower, we can only go up now. And yet, the people on the street seems to have solutions to how we should really run the network. And when we say to the engineers, these guys, you know, they are not only engineers. Everybody in the energy sector is not just an engineer, they are also doctors. We confirmed Dr. Rose Mkalama yesterday to run REREC. These are seriously trained and educated people in terms of capacity, in terms of being smart. Can we translate that smartness and help the economy? When it could help our children today, it could help the way we live, it could help to support the quality of life today. Why don't we do that today? Countries like Dubai are so built not because the government of Dubai is investing in Dubai, but because they have allowed the investors to come in on a framework which grows and supports the population. I'm sure you all know the framework on how some of the countries like those ones have developed. So the leadership of KETRACO, I want to encourage us to walk this journey of the private-public partnership, or public-private partnership per se, and walk that journey quickly. The legislation in that space have been a bit crafted too careful. The president would say bureaucracy is really bad in that sometimes if you are not careful, nothing will happen. But the goodness also with bureaucracy, like he says, is nothing will go wrong. But so let's not compromise so much on making sure that nothing goes wrong to ending up doing nothing. Because you run a journey like with the 4 lines under Africa 50, 2 lines and 4 lines under Adani. And 4 years down the line, we come back to look for money to finance those lines because we've not been able to walk the whole journey. And we lose time to support the network, the growth of the network, and we continue seeing the kind of congestion or the constraint in our transmission network that we see today. So I want to encourage us to really walk the journey, maintain the timelines you've given us. This week and last week, because of the challenge of the 10th, the national blackout that we had on the 10th, we've looked at timelines and we've pushed John Mativo and his team to deliver Kitale or TUM. I know TUM is now being powered to deliver by 31st of January. So as we go for Christmas, we'll come back and we want to commission Kitale. We should have commissioned. There was a bit of a small challenge that the transformer was not able to power up. We want to come back and commission Mariakane. We want to switch on Kimuka. And I want us to work with our partners like KPLC, where when we've built a line and they don't deliver their line on time, if the line needs to earn revenue, we should be able to charge the other person for failing to complete the end of the circuit. Because if you build and finish Kimuka and the outfeeders out of Kimuka are not working, then it serves no purpose to have built that line. Because if you are repaying a loan, if it was not a government loan and it was a bank loan, and you have to repay that line from the revenue that it generates, how will you pay for that line when it is not working? So I want to encourage those of us in the room, including Kenya Power, to ensure that we synchronize completion of projects. So when Kimuka is ready, all the 6 outfeeders are done. When Mariakan is ready, all the supporting whatever are finished. When we finish all this other, so that it's one thing for KETRACO to say we are doing well, but we are being let down by Kenya Power or being let down by so-and-so. We build a line from Soilo to Menengai. And 6 years down the line, after completing the line, the generator from Paul Ngugi here are not ready. The 3 times 35 megawatts. Only one is running today. We have another 2 who have not even broken the ground. And yet, we invested so much to develop this team. We invested so much to build that line. And then it is just sitting there. Maybe we should have built Kitale, Otum to Takwel, or whichever order, Takwel, Otum, Kitale, which is so constrained. We have a line which is not almost performing because the generator has not done their part. So as energy sector, it becomes very important to link up our strategy to the strategy of the generator, our strategy to the strategy of the off-taker. Otherwise, our line can be hanging there and not earning revenue. And if it was really being built by a company like Adani or Africa 50, I'm sure they will have the kind of thing that we saw, the dim generation for Lake Turkana line, where the generator expects to earn money to repay and service their debt. And when they start charging you because you are not able to take the power to market, Parliament can understand how we got into that situation. But that was the right thing to do. Because why should one plant be ready, fully financed, fully developed, and they are not able to repay their loan? And yet we had agreed that the 2 will walk the journey together to completion. So I want to encourage us to really be more purposeful in the way we draw our business roadmaps, how we do our strategy, to ensure that we link up with the rest of the energy sector. We do not only link up, this is the way we do LCPD, the Least Cost Power Development Plan. You develop power for the market. And if the market is not ready, somebody will have to pay for that power. So we increase the tariffs. And then so unless we walk the journey together, it's not only KETRACO, Kenya Power, and Kengen. It goes all the way to the market. The market has to be ready to take the power. Otherwise, we become the cost of inflation in terms of passing the cost to finance an asset which has been developed and which is not working for the economy because somebody has not done their part. So I want to encourage us to really work together. I want to encourage us to be to have that linkage, that interworking relationship with the rest of the energy sector, with the rest of the economy, to be able to deliver this country. But more importantly, build these lines at cost so that what is the benchmark of building a kilometer of 132 kV? A standard. And so are we within? So that when it's time to recover money, we are not recovering money which went to waste because it didn't really, it is not capitalized as a project financing, but it just goes to waste in terms of time of implementing the project. Sometimes government projects end up, look at Buenapias, the Lesos line, which is hanging there, and we have spent so much money. If it was a private sector investment, you know, would be under receivership as a country. So I want to encourage us to walk the journey, but really congratulate you for developing this roadmap. I want to see it working in sync with Kenya Power in terms of distribution, working in sync with the generator to ensure that we have a line to evacuate the power, because we're not working, if you go to the Least Cost Power Development Plan, all these links are talked to in terms of ensuring that when PACA is ready to evacuate, our Lesuk line all the way down is able to interconnect and evacuate power out of that region. So again, KETRACO, congratulations for bringing us here today. It's a very important function. We don't take it for granted that you have prepared a roadmap. It's got timelines, it's got a budget, and it's got the human resource to be able to walk the journey and ensure that we deliver for this country. One thing that I should mention really is we're not going to, there's this thing about affordability in all our mission and vision project, statements. And unless and until we are competitive, energy has been sometimes the cause of industries closing down. Unless we are competitive as a country, we cannot grow industry. The 7% to GDP growth of industry today, as opposed to our target of 15, where we want to walk to, and that could just be a statement, would be driven by the energy sector. So until we really bring down the cost of building networks, the cost of power, it's very easy to just keep on, because we are allowed, the EPRA is allowed to provide for revenue for a period, to overcharge the customers who are already paying. Like we overtax the few clients who are paying tax. We cannot grow the country that way. We really need to get the cost of power, the cost of energy in Kenya down. And if we don't do that, we just become the great engineers, the great doctors, the great big talkers who are very clever, sounding big. But you come down, and we should be competitive. We should be able to say, why should an investor not come to Kenya and go to Ethiopia or go to South Africa? And yet, our cost of power is competitive. If we want to generate for the domestic market, for consumption, for lighting our compounds at night because we are rich, that's a different story. But if we are developing it for industry, to give competitive advantage to a global firm, to set industry in Kenya, to set a world manufacturing center in Kenya because of the cost advantage, because of all the things that go with the advantage of setting up a base in Kenya, a world manufacturing center in Kenya. Global firms don't just manufacture because it's good to manufacture. They are in business. They need to make money. So if it is green energy, we have green energy in Kenya. If it is cost of energy, we should give them the right cost of energy, competitive, not just cost, so that they really get that competitive advantage in the cost of doing business and be able to have a cost advantage of their products. When you take a glass and you are told the cost of manufacturing glass, the power in that glass alone is about 50 to 60%. That's the cost of power. For those of us who run industry, we pay 40%, 50% on the cost of energy. I'm in the tea industry, and those of you who understand, we are the world leading exporter of black tea in the world today. But the cost of energy, both wood fuel and electricity, to make a kilogram of tea is almost 50%. So are we selling energy in tea or are we selling tea? Suppose it grow towards 100%, then anybody can sell because you are actually selling power. You are not selling energy. You are not selling tea. So we really need to bring down, John, we need to push down the cost of electricity in Kenya, and the cost of electricity has got a lot of components from generation to transmission and the off-taker. So I want to encourage you again to really clean up this and articulate those timelines, overrun cost because of time, which sometimes end up being twice the cost of building a line, twice the cost of generation, and so on and so forth, and ensure that we are a competitive destination in terms of doing business. But I want to thank you for the great work we are doing together in energy. I want to encourage you that as we walk into the new year, we are now 1 year in office, and the president keeps reminding us that 1 year we should not have any excuse that we are still learning. For those of us who have just come in, Abdi and the directors, if we have not learned in 1 year, then we have a problem. So I guess the second year should really be, we should be sprinting to deliver all those that need to be delivered. We now know what is critical, what can wait. Those that can wait, they can wait. Sometimes we start new projects because of the incentives of starting a new project, which sometimes are not the correct incentives. And we don't care to finish a project which was started by somebody else. So we need to have implored the CEO to make sure that all those projects where the loans are expiring by March, April, There is no reason why the term of a loan should expire before the project is finished. And so if you need the PS, you need me, you need everybody to help us to make sure that we close those projects, we close them as per schedule, and ensure that we manage those costs of doing business. So as we go for Christmas, I want to wish all of you, all of us, and our families a Merry Christmas. You travel safe. PS has issued some schedule on how we'll support the network, how we'll support the country, because it's like a hospital. You don't close down. So let's maintain those schedules and make sure while people are celebrating out there, they don't stop dancing because the power has gone off. They don't stop celebrating because the power has gone off. Industry doesn't close down. Life doesn't come to a stop because of a holiday. So let's make sure, like any other critical function, we are up to the task of maintaining and supporting the network so that we don't see the kind of challenges that we've seen in the short while. We have tried to analyze the PS, and sometimes we have overpushed our staff. Even as you seek to manage the National Control Center, sometimes a lot of the challenges could be human resource. It could be somebody sleeping on the job, not sleeping at work, not sleeping on the job. Because a body is a body, they get tired. Sometimes people go to work and they have not slept the whole day, and they go to work in the evening to sleep. And when 10 alarms come on the board, you don't know which one to touch. So we are looking at the human resource concern to make sure that the National Command Center is adequately manned by people who work for the right number of hours, manned by the right number of engineers. I had us talk to migration of engineers to other economies. They are not moving because there are no jobs there. It is because we are very qualified. So the challenge is not qualification. It is really human resource planning. So the HR, let's really help and support our engineering team. We are engineering, in fact, we were discussing yesterday, and we think the human resource manager for KETRACO, Kenya Power, KenGen should be an engineer. Because sometimes the human resource people don't understand the challenge the engineers go through. And so we get in the structure, the person manning the National Control Center being graded here, and all the HR or all the finance people who manage the business are graded here. And yet the person who runs the business is really not well. So let's look at how we remunerate our people and the people, the core people who run the business, so that we then have the money to take care of as we remunerate the finance people, because sometimes they think because they're the financial team, they should pay themselves very well. But if the money doesn't come because the network is down, we have a problem. So we've talked about all those issues, including human resource, including training. So we'll be seeking to recruit more staff. But even before we do that, let us support those who are there. Let us ensure that we man those critical functions with adequate personnel so that we don't see the kind of embarrassing blackouts that we've seen in the last 3-4 months, and which could have been avoided if it was a human resource. Even if it's an investment, let's make sure those constrained transmission links are deloaded as soon as possible. So the targets we've given you, John, Mativo, and your team, let us work and ensure that we deliver on time. I want to leave it there because I'm sure after this people want to go home for Christmas. Like I said, let's travel safe. Let us set the example of safety in our country. Let us make sure that as energy sector, when we come back, we don't lose anybody because we are careless in the way we drive or in the way we celebrate during this festive period. Asanteni sana, and God bless you. Thank you.
Piko Waziri. Asante sana. Bwana Waziri, I would request that you remain standing here. You will help us at the launch booth. I would request the peers and our leaders here and the board members. Just come close so that we witness this momentous occasion. When Waziri, you will press this mode. This launch booth is intelligent, and just by press of the button, it will come out and we'll all witness. So the countdown begins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's coming. Makofi. Let's celebrate as we launch KETRACO Strategic Plan 2023-2027. Asante Waziri, asante Bwana PS na wageni wetu. So I would like to have a photo session. Here. Celebrate. Thank you so much. Bwana Waziri. Yes. The books. Come, keep them. Bwana Waziri, we request you kaa karibu. Sorry. Tuwapige makofi. Asanteni sana. Asante sana. Okay. Now we'll take a seat for just a vote of thanks and a prayer. I would request the Waziri to kae kidogo just for the final bit of the function. Tumeshukuru sana. As our guests take their seats, I would request Mr. Godfrey Kariuki. Mr. Kariuki, please give us a vote of thanks, and we'll have the final national anthem to close this occasion. Thank you.
Our chief guest, Cabinet Secretary, Davis Chilshil, Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, the Principal Secretary, Alex Washila, State Department of Energy, our Board Chairman, Abdi Duale, and the Board of Directors, Managing Director, KETRACO, and Management Team, CEOs present, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me a lot of pleasure to give a vote of thanks for this great milestone that we have achieved today. Development of this strategic plan, a lot of efforts and resources have gone into it. I want to recognize all those people who have helped us to develop this strategic plan. The CS office was very instrumental in giving us the policy direction, together with the PS and the State Department of Energy. Indeed, it gave us a lot of comments. The State Department of Economic Planning and the National Treasury, despite giving us resources, he also gave us very good comments, and we really appreciated. We also received a lot of inputs and comments from the Board of Directors, even taking time to go through the draft during the preparation period. Thank you very much. Management team, you have been very instrumental in guiding us towards the development of this strategic plan. Our sector partners, we are very cooperative, and we appreciate the comments that you gave us, even the inputs during the preparation process. I also want to appreciate our development partners who have also been very instrumental, our contractors, our consultants, and all the stakeholders that we invited, and also gave our very valuable comments. KETRACO staff, I can't forget you. You are the key stakeholders in developing and also implementing the strategic plan. The strategic plan working team, the secretariat, and also the organizing committee, all those people who have made this function to be very successful today. They are spending days and nights organizing this. Thank you very much. The media, for also participating in this function. Thank you very much. And all of you for accepting our invitation. It could not have been very successful the way it has been if you could not have come to celebrate with us. The College of Insurance, thank you also very much for hosting us and honoring us with this venue. That's all. Thank you, all of us, for participating, and thank you very much, and let us be united, as we have been told, to make this success of the implementation of the plan. Thank you very much.
Let's give another round of applause to Mr. Kariuki. So we have a link in our website. We can always access at the comfort of our offices. But for those who are here, we have copies of the same. As you walk out, you will be able to pick a copy. Meanwhile, we thank you so much for finding time to be here to witness the launch. I would request that we all now stand as we get the national anthem, and thereafter guests can leave at their own pleasure. Please.
O God of all creation, blessed is God of creation. Just is the ocean and defender. Every day, unity, peace, and liberty, plenty be found within the borders. Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu.
Ended there. Guests can now leave at their pleasure. Thank you so much, Waziri. Thank you so much, Bwana PS, all our guests, staff. Tumeshukuru sana. Thank you so much.